Ronin's RON jumps 39.6% after Coinbase lists wrapped ERC-20 version Ronin's RON token climbed 39.6% on May 19, 2026, after Coinbase confirmed it will list an ERC-20 wrapped version of the asset on its main exchange, according to a CoinGecko post on X, citing the listing news. The move gives US-based retail traders their most direct path to RON exposure since the token launched on the Ronin sidechain. CoinGecko's post described the listing as the catalyst, with the percentage move logged against the prior 24-hour close. As of the time of writing, BTC sits at 76,806 and ETH at 2,028 per the live market snapshot, both essentially flat on the day, which makes the RON move sharper in relative terms against a quiet broader tape. A bridge into Coinbase, not the native chain. The asset Coinbase is listing is not native RON. It is a wrapped ERC-20 representation that lives on Ethereum, which means Coinbase users will trade and custody an Ethereum-side token backed by RON locked on the Ronin chain. This is the same pattern used for assets like WBTC. It removes the operational lift of integrating a separate sidechain and lets Coinbase plug the token into its existing Ethereum infrastructure. For Sky Mavis and the Ronin ecosystem, the trade-off is reach in exchange for an extra step. US users get exchange-grade liquidity, but anyone wanting to actually use RON inside Ronin native games or DeFi still needs to unwrap and bridge back. The wrapped version is a liquidity venue, not a gameplay token. The price reaction in context, a 39.6% single-day move, is large in any market, and especially so against a backdrop where BTC and ETH are barely moving. Fear and greed sat at 40 neutral on the same day per CoinMarketCap. That tells you the bid is idiosyncratic rather than a broader risk-on rotation. Listings on Coinbase have a documented history of moving smaller cap tokens on the day of the announcement, with the size of the move tied to how much existing US exchange coverage the asset already has. RON had been thinly accessible to US retail before today, so the discovery shock is real. The question is durability. The Coinbase listing effect tends to compress quickly once the token is actually live, and arbitrage closes the gap between offshore venues and Coinbase's order book. Anyone trading the headline needs to separate the announcement pop from the post-listing flush that often follows. Coinbase's listing posture, read through this wrapper, Coinbase has been selectively expanding its altcoin shelf through 2026 with a clear preference for ERC-20 wrappers when the underlying asset lives on a non-EVM or sidechain environment. This keeps integration work bounded and lets Coinbase add coverage without committing engineering resources to every new chain. For tokens whose native home is a gaming or app-specific chain, the wrapped route is becoming the default. This is also a small data point in the wider story of which Layer 2s and sidechains get exchange distribution. Ronin spun out of Axie Infinity and has spent the last few years rebuilding its developer narrative after the 2022 bridge hack. A Coinbase listing, even of the wrapped form, is a credibility marker that other gaming chains will note. Practical notes for spot traders. Two operational details matter for anyone planning to act on the news. First, the wrapped token will trade only against the pairs Coinbase chooses to enable at launch, and depth in those pairs in the first 24 hours is rarely a reliable price signal. Second, anyone holding native RON on Ronin who wants to capture US listing premium has to bridge to Ethereum, mint, or acquire the wrapped version and deposit, a path that carries gas and timing risk during a volatile move. The listing itself does not change RON's tokenomics, emissions, or governance. It changes the audience.